Hello, this is Brad Wild, and today we are starting our flight in the Eclipse 550 from Aerobask in San Bernardino, California, which is Kilo Sierra Bravo Delta. It's at the base of the San Bernardino Mountains, and over those mountains, as you will see, is Vegas. Not immediately, but you're on your way. This is version 2, and it comes with a nice sound pack and VR capabilities. I am not a VR pilot, so you're stuck with just the sound pack today. So where are we going? We're going to go up to a little airport in Utah called Panguitch. Why? Well, I've got a relative that's building a ranch up there, and it just so happens that there's a little airport real close to the property, and he lives in the San Bernardino area, so I just thought it would be interesting to see what a flight up there would be like as opposed to just driving. So we'll get started with some planning by heading over to Sky Vector. So I plugged in the two airports here. Panguitch is Uniform 55. It doesn't show up on SimBrief. Can't find the airport. And you'll see in a minute that it doesn't even appear as an option in the Skyview navigational system in the Eclipse 550. So we're going to have to do a little bit of manual entry in order to complete our flight. I've got our VFR map pulled up. So San Bernardino is east of Los Angeles, and we'll be headed to the northeast. This is Las Vegas, flying over Las Vegas. And then just lots of desert and dirt. Here's Bryce Canyon, the famous national park. And here is Panguitch. So how do we get there? I'm going to start with our low altitude map so I can see airways. And I'm going to select the route that Sky Vector recommends. So it has us catching this V21 Airway, and it takes us up to Mormon Mesa, Mike VOR, and then up Airway V8 to Pogby, and then we can head on up to Panguitch. So I'm going to try an RNAV approach, so we're going to have to do some manual entry, but you get the general gist of our route. I'm just going to check the winds here. We can do that later, but it's winds out of 310 at 11, gusts to 20, but the weather is clear. In fact, I think it's clear all the way up there. And if we were to look at there actually is a RNAV approach. I think we want to be landing to the north. And you can see in our chart the runway configuration. So it's 5,500 feet, so we've got plenty of room, but note the elevation, 6,700 feet. And we're going to have to plug all of this in manually because the airport doesn't appear in nav data for some reason, and so neither does the RNAV approach. Alright, back to the airplane. Not much has changed in version 2 other than what I had mentioned, the sound pack and the VR capabilities. Go ahead and get this turned on. So the Skyview navigation is a real avionics package that you can find in actual aircraft. I kind of wondered at first if Aerobask just didn't create this from scratch, but no, they are emulating another package, and it's in combination with Garmin. Let's pull that up and head over to our menu. Let's start with a flight plan. We're going to add our waypoint here. Let's start with the airport, actually. So Kilo Sierra, what did I say? Bravo Delta, San Bernardino. And then our first waypoint, according to our map, is Donna. So put that in. And then the next item in our route is this V21 Victor 21 Airway. So in order to add an airway, you click on the entry point, which is Donna in this case, and we load the airway. It shows us what is available, V21, and then where do we want to get off? Well, as I mentioned, we want to get off at Mormon Mesa, and you can see that it populates our route with all the waypoints along the way. So what's next? Well, we want to pick up Victor 8, so I click on Mormon Mesa and it gives me the option of Victor 8, and I want to get off at Pogme. And again, it populates our route. So what's next? Let me just show you. If I try to enter the airport, no matches found. Uniform 55. So we're going to have to do our own Nav entry. So looking at our route here, and I won't bother you with all of these, but we're going to have to enter all of these. So why don't I do that now? So off camera I entered these 3 waypoints which make up our RNAV approach, and so off camera I entered these 3 waypoints which make up our RNAV approach into Panguitch, and you can see here's our first one, and then on into Panguitch. So that completes the planning portion. Again, I can't put in our destination airport because for some reason it doesn't show up. Alright, let's get things underway. So I've pulled up this little menu that pops out from the side. The chocks have been taken care of, and I can fire up our GPU, ground power unit, but then we can go ahead and close the doors. There are other features here. I'm not going to go through it, but there's basically just me flying, and you can't add people after the doors are closed, which is kind of interesting. You can adjust the sounds here, which are kind of nice. You do have some lights that you can turn on, open and close the shades, and turn on reflections. A few other things that you can play with. Alright, let's turn on our beacon and our nav light. And we can start with our right engine, and we can watch it spool up here. All right, and our left engine, and it's coming up. And once our engines are started, we can get rid of our GPU. And let's turn on our generators. So let's have a listen to ATIS. So this is how you switch back and forth. And then you can either use your keyboard. I think you can use your keyboard. Not real sure. Oh, you can't. Just kidding. But it should be simple enough. So we're going to start with 124, and it's 175.
San Bernardino Intel Information Victor 000 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility 4. Sky clear, temperature 21, dew point 12. Altimeter 2995. Arriving runway 06, departing runway 06. Advise on initial contact. You have Victor.
All right. We would call the tower now, tell them we have Victor and that we want a taxi. But we can also dial in our altimeter at this point. Well, they do make it easy to enter your baro. You just click on it and type in the new one. That was 95. There we go, and just click enter, and there we go. While I'm down here, I want my navigation source, HSI, to be the sky view, and that will be pulling from our flight plan over here, and you can notice that GPS now appears. So we are ready to taxi. Alright, so let's put on our taxi light, and we've got a taxi all the way over to runway 6, which is a little bit of a haul. If you look at the runway diagram, there's only one runway. We are parked all the way over here at General Aviation and need to head over to 6. By the way, if you buy this aircraft, don't be alarmed at how much power you need to add to get it to move. So brakes off. And while we're taxiing, go back on the power a little bit and knock it flat. So you can join me at the end of runway 6. Alright, at the end of runway 6 at San Bernardino. Quite a ways from where we began our taxi. So let's get ourselves ready for takeoff. So flaps at takeoff, yaw damper on, flight director on. Want to put in our cruise altitude, 30,000 feet. And check my heading, it's at 6. And how about landing lights? And yeah, I think the strobe is on. And we are ready for takeoff. So release our brakes. These runways are quite large, or this runway is quite large. Very long, very wide, lots of cargo in and out of here. I don't think there are any scheduled airlines. So line up and wait. Just want to make sure of one additional thing. Just want to start my timer. So tools and time and timer and start. All right. Still learning all of these many options available in this aircraft. Alright, power up, brakes off. And toga. And V1, rotate, gear up, and flaps up, and we can begin our turn. And we can click our autopilot and nav, and I've clicked altitude change, and I've checked our route, our rate of climb. You'll notice that it says down. Not quite sure what that means, but it's the exact opposite of what you'd think it would be. So we can come back on our power. Maybe that was too much. You have to clear those mountains. They're about 5,500 feet. By the way, Palm Springs is out in that direction. And we should go right over Lake Arrowhead or close to it. Big Bear is off in the distance. Has its own airport. There's Lake Arrowhead. so we've got plenty of clearance. So climbing at 180 knots, 3,000 feet a minute. That's quite impressive. So autopilot is on. We're using our GPS navigation. We're using the altitude change. We've dialed in our own rate of climb. And as we come up on 10,000, we can kill the landing lights. San Bernardino in the distance. You can see Big Bear just under the airplane. And they've got an airport. You can see the beacon. It's a little bit challenging to land there. So we must be over Donna? Now this screen contains a lot of information. You can see some times here. Our next fix. Altitude, ground speed. Very handy. And let's see if we can change the range. There we go. And you can see our little arch here, which shows where we will hit our top of climb. You can select what kinds of things that you want on here. Let's see. Here's our flight plan. Then you can pick the kinds of tools that you want. Map menu. Items. You can decide what kinds of things you want to see. I'm fine with the way it is. There's always this back button. Right now our heading is straight ahead. You can make it so that it's north. But that's a little bit confusing for me. Nothing in the way of weather. And put that back into place. So we're on Airway Victor 21 on our way to Vegas. And I don't know if you can see Interstate 15. Which takes you up to Vegas from LA. No luck. Alright, time to go with standard baro. And I don't know if there is a standard baro switch. I couldn't find it. So we are at standard. Alright, why don't you join me at top of climb. Alright, coming up on that top of climb. I increased the power a little bit because it was getting quite slow. The pitch is lowered in order to keep up the set speed. And I'm not sure if that speed can be set anywhere, or if it's arbitrary, or if it's whatever your pitch is when you take off. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. So let's just take a look at this other side, and I've turned on TCAS to see traffic. And as our speed climbs now, we can come back on our power. And just take a look around the cabin. A little sparse. Out the window. On the right side. Left side. Again, just desert. Las Vegas ahead. So not much to do right now. As we get a little bit closer to Vegas, I'll ask you to join me. A couple of things to point out. First of all, I've pulled up my flight plan here, and you can see our remaining time to a VOR just to the south of Las Vegas. And you can see Las Vegas here, KLAS, International Airport. And Lake Mead off in the distance. This is the Colorado River. I don't know if we'll see Boulder Dam or not. Take a look out the window. So this is Las Vegas. I pulled up X Airports. It's a great $1.99 app. You can get it in the App Store. I don't know if it runs on PC. I do know it runs on Mac. And here's Interstate 15, which I have been on many times driving into Las Vegas. But X Airports somehow picks up the flight plan that's on your FMS and plugs it in. So here is Vegas, Colorado River. Hoover Dam is up. What did I say? Boulder Dam. Hoover Dam up here somewhere. So we're going to get real close. We may get to see it out the right side. A couple of things about our PFD. You can select various things, like you can set your Mach speed here, or you can see what it is. You can turn your traffic on and off with TCAS. This just sets the number of these arrows, and you just cycle through them. And then this is our source. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. So click back to Nav. It'll actually turn off your GPS and your Nav. So be careful about that. Your autopilot, you can do what you do up here, down here. And for your engine instruments, you can set whether you want kilograms or liters or pounds. For your fuel, here's your transponder. It is on, it is on VFR, and that shows up right here. If you want to put in a code, you can punch it in here. Tools, you saw that when I set the time. Not sure what setup does. Okay, here's your barrow. So you can change whether or not it's in inches or millibars. I don't see anything that sets it to standard. Pitch. Not quite sure what that does. I'll have to experiment with it. Temperature, centigrade or Fahrenheit. Screen, you can set various levels here. So that's just the PFD. Here we've got engine. Here we've got map. So that's just a quick tour of our PFD. Colorado River, Lake Mead, Vegas. I believe this is the airport. By the way, the clouds are courtesy of SkyMax. You'll notice this airplane is pretty easy on the frame rates. So I'm in the 2930 range, and that's with SkyMax, which can make a dent. Of course, there isn't too much going on in terms of clouds. And you can see we are coming up on a little dog leg. Vegas, here we are. And here is Hoover Dam. By the way, X Airport does have a few options here. There's just a standard map. Road map, about the same. And you do get your aviation here. So here's our, might be a little too close. Let's see. There we go. So there's our sectional. Not sure what happened to us. I don't see our route anymore. Kind of like the shaded. There we are. So I'm not sure if our scenery is actually going to show Hoover Dam. Yeah, it would be right down in here. Or maybe somebody could do the scenery patch for that. Alright, enough noodling around, back in a few. And we're coming up on Mormon Mesa, the VOR that adjoins Victor 21 and Victor 8. I don't know about the black smoke, but still kind of cool. So, lots of exciting landscape. Just checking our map. We want to be at flight level, or initial approach fixed altitude of 11,000. And let's see where X Airports has us. So again, here's Interstate 15, which takes you up into Utah. So when we get a little bit closer to top of descent, which I will have to figure out, you can join me then. Alright, it's starting to get, well, I wouldn't call it dark, but we're getting towards late afternoon. The sun's still pretty high. So, time to think about our approach, or at least our top descent. So we're a number of miles out yet. I went over to our descent calculator that it's part of X-Plane Tools, something that I wrote a while ago, and I just noticed that there's a bug in it. If you have a target altitude below or above 10,000 feet, it doesn't work. So I'm going to put in 10,000. Even though we want to be at 11,000 for our initial approach fix, but it'll give us a little bit of an idea. So about 50 miles out, we want to begin our descent. So that's right about now, because I've got to back off these distances here, so I want to begin descending right now. So I guess you would say I was asleep at the wheel. So let me punch in our altitude, and then put the nose down and back off on our speed. So I've got 30 miles. To lose that altitude. So you can see our little arch here, arc. So I'm probably a little aggressive. Maybe I can come back a bit. No need to panic, I guess. That is a nice feature, having that little arc. Now there is no ATIS here, so I would have to check with a flight service station. Let's see if Bryce Canyon can't help us. And that weather is showing an altimeter of 30.24 and winds 290 at 11 knots. So it's calmed down a little bit. What did I say? 30.24 for the altimeter. Now, I know my friend Steve would say, you know, if I had ortho scenery, I wouldn't have those smooth looking mountains. But maybe when I retire, I'll load up all that ortho scenery. I'm happy with the way it looks. It sure beats my first flight simulator, which was the old Microsoft gun. Wasn't even Windows back then. Anyway, I digress. So back in a minute. Alright, we're closing in on our initial approach fix. You can see that here on our map, our approach chart. So we're right about here, about ready to begin our final. And we should be at our altitude, 11,000 feet, just in time. Holding about 175 knots. So our runway's somewhere in the distance here. So there's our warning that we are close. Go ahead and turn on my landing lights so I don't forget. So you look at our altitudes here, we have 98 and 86. So I'm going to punch that in. And after we turn, we can descend. Watch the speed here. No reason to crawl yet. And there's our turn. And we can descend again. That little arch really helps. Starting to get dark in here. So you can see what it does here. You get backlighting with that on, but it dims everything else. And when we get to that next waypoint, which is Hotel Alpha Juliet Whiskey Uniform. We'll dial it down to 18. What was it? 1860? No, 8640. What am I talking about? And I see a runway out here. And we're lined up nicely. And let's dial in that next altitude. Said 8640, didn't I? The only reason that I really want to pay attention to that is I want to avoid any landscape here. I think it's deceptively high. So this is just a gradual descent. If we can zoom in any closer. There we go. I'm just wondering if I shouldn't have put a K in front of. Got pappy lights. Kind of surprising out here in the middle of nowhere. Fighting my pitch here, so I can't get the trim tab to work. Alright, gear down. And a notch of flaps. Panguitch, Utah. One thousand. So our VREF speed is 87. So coming down. Final notch of flaps. Come on. There we go. So pappy lights, red, two white. What compared to San Bernardino, that is a narrow runway. So watching speed and descent here.
300.
So VREF is the speed that we want when we come over the fence. slow.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Retard. By the way, there's no reverse on this airplane. Just brakes. And it looks like we actually have some scenery here at Panguitch. Oh, a little squirrely there. And we'll put up our flaps as we head towards a parking area here. This airplane takes quite a bit of power to keep it rolling on the ground. Well, this looks like as good a place as any. So, engines off. Generators. Lights and everything else off. All right. Thanks for joining me on this flight in the version 2 Aerobask 550 from San Bernardino to Panguitch, Utah. And I welcome your comments and questions as always. And until next time, see ya.